מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא יחסר, בנודש יביסני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישבב, ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צר מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך משענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשם ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתו בית אדוני לאורך ימים.
A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Today is a difficult day because it's hard to say goodbye to such a kind and loving man. Matt always had a smile on his face. He radiated warmth and joy, and he shared it with us all the time. He was a beacon of joy. But still we have to gather today to share words of praise, of honor, of gratitude, and to be strengthened and supported as we recall our dear Matthew Goss, a beloved son, a beloved brother, a beloved husband, a beloved father, a beloved papa, a beloved uncle, perhaps even a beloved car salesman, most definitely a beloved friend. Today we offer our deepest condolences to all of Matt's family, in particular to his best friend, the love of his life, married for more than 56 years, together for more than 60 years as each other's best friends and confidant, to you, Pam. We offer our condolences to the apples of Matt's eye, his children, as well as his daughter and son-in-law, who he considered his own, to Beth and to Jeffrey and to Kristen and to Greg. I'll say them right. To Beth and to Greg and to Jeffrey and Kristen. And to the diamonds in his crown, the ones who made him a papa, to his grandchildren, to Ben and Lou, to Corin and to Truman. And Matt now returns to his parents of blessed memory, Ben and Bessie, to his brother Larry. He joins all who have gone before in heaven. We have some very special family tributes today, like first to call upon Matt's son, Jeffrey.
it's going to be harder than I thought. It was cold. My God, was it cold. It was January 4th, 1981. I was 12 years old. And I was with my dad in our usual spot. Section 36, row 20. This is going to take a while. Seats 20 and 21 at Old Cleveland Stadium. We went to most games. We'd started doing so a couple of years earlier, and we'd continue on with season tickets. First his, then ours, then mine, until only a few years ago. And even then, even after we didn't have tickets, when 6 games, 8 games proved a little too much, I'd find a game or two and get 4 tickets. I'd take the boys and get one for Papa too, if he thought he'd want to join us as well. But that January day was particularly special. The Browns, the cardiac kids, to those of a certain age, were good. And not only good, but they were in the playoffs. At home. And we were there. And it was cold. Cold as in 3 pairs of socks and heavy boots cold. 4 shirts, a sweater, and a jacket on top cold. Long johns, jeans, and snow pants cold. If memory serves, actually, I looked it up this morning. It was 4 degrees when the game kicked off with a wind chill of negative 23. And it was a close game. And we so wanted to be there and will them to a win. But I was cold. Dad was cold. But we shivered on, me not wanting to let Dad down and miss some of the game, and him probably soldiering on even more and wanting to make it the best possible thing for me. And at the end of the third quarter, the Browns leading 12-7, Dad said something about how cold it was, and what did I think about maybe heading out early. And I think I surprised him when I looked at him and I unflinchingly said, "Yes, let's go now." And we collected our things and we left. I didn't think much of it in the moment, but in the years since, I suspect Dad was even colder than he let on. But he wanted to make sure that I was happy and reveling in my enjoyment of the moment, notwithstanding the fact that I was freezing. He gritted his teeth and he let me enjoy it. Cleveland sports fans refer to it as Red Right 88. But to me, it was just a football game and the cold. And most importantly, being there with my dad in his presence and his being. And now, in his death, we've lost the latter of those, his being. His physical presence. We can no longer touch or feel his physical form. His form has, as it is said, returned to the earth, ashes to ashes. But his death does not rob us of his spirit. For even in the absence of his being, we are still left to feel and remember and enjoy his ruach, his spirit. We may not be able to make new memories, but we still share, and he still shares and influences our lives. And we are charged to make space for him, for his ruach, in order to do so. And in the handful of days since his death, I've looked for ways to recognize that presence. I felt it at breakfast, yesterday actually, at a hotel in Milan, Italy, of all places, as we prepared to return home. And among the choices was a tray of scrambled eggs. Or at least that's what the label said they were. I think I may even said that last part out loud, probably to no one in particular, but I think I said it for Dad to hear. Those were no kind of scrambled eggs that I knew of. See, you have to understand, Dad made the best scrambled eggs. They along with fresh Bialy's bagels, were part of the Sunday brunch ritual. And they truly remain the best. And I've tried, but I've never successfully matched them or recreated them. And I see his presence in watching my kids and Corin, who will readily tell me the exact make and model, and sometimes even the year of a random exotic car sighted when we're at home or when we're traveling. Much like Dad could rattle off in an instant the make, model, and year of seemingly any car from 1955 to 1964. He probably knew how many miles it had to, for all I know. And I see his presence in Truman and is wont to talk randomly of any sports event, fact, or occurrence, much the same way I'd talk to Dad on a Monday, spending an inordinate amount of time dissecting a Browns game or lamenting another lost baseball season, or having him call me and share some interesting tidbit he'd heard on the radio or read in the paper, just for a chance to talk. I even see it in the fact that, but for a week delay in the season, today, when we honor him, today would have been baseball's opening day. And I can recall many hopeful and wistful and, cold too, April visits to old Cleveland Stadium for an Indians opener with thoughts and hopes filled with promise that it was surely going to be our year. And I see his presence in my sister, ever the mediator, ever the finder of middle grounds, with a welcoming smile and a hospitable spirit, making even the unknown stranger feel welcomed and comfortable. And I see it in my mom, both in how she cared for him these last few years and how she protected him, loyal and compassionate to the end, much in the same way Dad showed care for Mimi, and for Papa, and for Ilsa, as well as years ago for his own mother and aunt in their own times of need. And in the same way I've seen and felt his presence in these last few days, I anticipate what I'd expect to feel too in the coming months and years at a track meet for Corin or a baseball game for Truman, when I will, against my own want, just try to sit quietly watching, cheering them on in my head, but otherwise silently, so as to just let them play. Or in the wake of their successes in school or in life, to tell them, great job, and letting them know how well they were doing, while inside absolutely beaming with pride, with joyous, radiating pride, taking such joy in all the things that my kids, his grandkids, have done. Or at Thanksgiving, when it comes time to carve the turkey, knowing that it was always Dad's time to shine. Or at the grill this summer, letting it warm up probably too long, and making the burgers just right. And yes, I'll feel his presence when I turn on a Browns game and think of all those years walking down to the stadium, usually after getting brunch somewhere, an omelet, not scrambled eggs. And even more so this fall, or next fall, and the fall after that, probably the fall after that, when the boys and I will pick a Browns game, maybe two, to enjoy. And I'll get 4 seats, not 5, 4 seats, just in case Papa thinks he might want to join us. I'm not here to tell anyone how my dad's ruach may be with you. In death and in mourning, we must each find our own way to mourn and to share and to grieve and to remember. But I wanted to share how it envelops me. For in our grief, we show our love and we share it. I hope in some way, as you honor my dad and share our grief, that you too can find that moment or moments when you too may feel his ruach.
Now I'll call up grandchildren Ben and Lou.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Ben, and Matt was my papa. I know all of you loved him in your own way, and that you each choose to remember him in your own ways, too. I'm choosing to remember him by the way he lived and by the lives in which he impacted. For instance, how many of you didn't know a combination like a half and half bagel and OJ would be a winning breakfast? I sure didn't. But I was fortunate enough to have someone great in my life to teach me. That's who my papa was to me, my teacher. From carving the turkey on Thanksgiving, which was always the biggest of tasks, we left it to him, until he decided it was time for me to learn and to pass it down. It was always those moments, those that seemed larger than life, like visiting Cooperstown and watching Abbott and Costello as a 5-year-old. I could never understand who was on first. Papa always knew who was on first. Maybe it was because he seemed so wise. Maybe it was because he seemed so tall, because I was so young. But I could swear to you that I could feel like I could see the whole world from up on his shoulders. And as I got older, memories haven't always stayed with me. Or stayed the same. But I still remember his hands around my wrists as he pulled me up over his head to make sure I wouldn't fall from his shoulders. I've been searching for the past week to find something meaningful to say, hoping that I could simply invent some lesson or wisdom to take away. I didn't, because not everything has to be so complex, and some things are just simple and plain. But that's okay, because I think Papa liked them simple and plain. He didn't mind that Cleveland sports were always terrible. So we talk about them endlessly. Not because we ever thought they'd get better, but because it was our simple connection. I mean, if we'd been counting on the Browns to get better before we talked about them, I don't think I would have ever seen a football game. My love of the sport is only defined by that love that my papa and I shared for each other. I will miss him eternally, but every time I turn on Monday Night Football and hear that theme, or I have the Breakfast of Champions, or I learn something new, I know that he is there. I hope you all get the chance to feel like he is with you too, because I know that everyone here meant so much to him. Thank you all for making my papa feel loved. We all know that he deserved it and much more. Thank you.
And we call up grandchildren Corin and Truman.
Even though Papa may no longer be with us, the memories I have with him have shaped me as a person, and I will always remember and cherish them, and I would like to take the time to share a few of them with you all. Starting around the time I was in preschool, Papa would always take me and Truman to a diner for lunch. It might have been to Jim's Diner in Solon, or to the Orange Diner at Brainerd and Miles, or to my favorite place with Papa, Michael's Diner at Shaker Square. We would take the Rapid from Green Road to Shaker Square. No matter which diner he chose or how late in the day it was, I would always get pancakes, preferably with chocolate chips, or M&Ms. M&Ms are better. Papa would always get hash browns, 2 eggs, and an English muffin. Whenever he wasn't looking, although I'm sure he was, I would take the jelly packets that were on the table and eat them. That's disgusting. Eventually, he would see me eating them, and he would laugh and give me part of his English muffin to put the jelly on, which made that jelly taste much better. I also remember the time when I was around 4 or 5, and Nana and Papa took me downtown on the Rapid to see the ships in the port. My favorite photo of me and him was taken that day. He was walking, and I was on his shoulders. He had sunglasses on, and there was the First Energy Stadium sign in the background, and we were both smiling. My most fond memory of that day, however, involved car keys. After visiting the ships, Papa checked his pockets and realized that he had lost his car keys. Car keys for the car he had just purchased, a 2011 white Toyota Camry SE. With the keys missing, once we got back to the Green Road Rapid Station, we would have no way to get home unless Nana walked all the way back to their house on Traymore to grab the Legacy to pick me and Papa up. Thankfully, 4-year-old Corin miraculously remembered the train number for the Rapid that we took downtown earlier that day. Sure enough, the Toyota car keys with the motor car's keychain was sitting with the conductor. Although it is a small memory of Papa, it is one I will never forget. And then, of course, there was June 18th, 2016, the day before the Cavs finally won the finals, which was something that Papa had loved to see. Truman had a baseball tournament in Willoughby that day, and Papa had come to watch. 10-year-old me wasn't a huge fan of watching Truman's baseball games in the summer heat, and I wanted to leave desperately. After Truman's first game, Papa offered to take me somewhere more entertaining. He drove us to one of my favorite places, a car dealership. But not just any dealership. It was a Volvo and Mercedes dealership, the Lycan Motor Company, the dealership where he had worked for years. He let me have free reign over all the cars in the showroom. No matter what car there was, he gave me the keys to go in it. I, of course, had a blast and wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. Mom and Dad agreed to let me have a sleepover with Nana and Papa's that night, which was something that I had always loved to do. His lifelong devotion to cars sparked an interest in me that would last a lifetime. I am sad that we will no longer be able to make new memories with Papa. I am very glad, however, to have as many great memories as I do to help keep him with me forever.
What amazing tributes from Jeffrey and Ben and Lou and Corin and Truman. I know the whole family shares incredible memories. I know we spent our time on Zoom because we were literally across the world together, from LA and Cleveland and Italy and everywhere in between. But we could feel the love. And I want to say that Matt tied you together with love. And each member of the family that's wearing a tie today is wearing one of Matt's ties. Another way that we're carrying him on and continue to carry him on in all that we do. At this point, I want to invite Cantor Schiffman up. You might know that Matt has been in Montefiore for a number of years, and Cantor Gary Paller had come by at least every week, and he would sing a special version of Hine Matov to Matt And Matt would always join in, and it was so uplifting to Matt and helped him. And the family asked if Cantor Schiffman could sing that. Hine Matov means how good it is for brothers and sisters, for family and friends to be gathered together. And so we say that today as we gather to remember such a remarkable man. May we only remember him with good.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד.
Matt was good. I could really just stop right there. He was a good neshama. He had a good soul, a mensch, simply a good guy who had a heart of gold. Warm and welcoming, approachable and trusted, loyal and compassionate. He never complained, always avoided conflict. He was the one that could smooth things over. A trusted advisor and confidant. He could be silly. He always appreciated your uniqueness. Matt had a big personality to match that big smile, but he never overwhelmed you. He wasn't larger than life. He had a special quality that from the first moment that he met you, you felt like you were instantly good friends. He did that to everyone because he accepted you for who you were. Born here in Cleveland, the family moved to University Heights, and Matt graduated from Heights High. Not soon after his bar mitzvah, Matt's father became ill and lost his sight. It was then at the age of 14 that Matt learned how to drive to help take his father to doctor's appointments, and likely started his lifelong love of cars. From an early age, he showed incredible compassion and empathy, caring for his ailing father and then mother. His uncle who died young, he lived with his aunt after his uncle's death. Matt never said no to anyone throughout his life. He was always there for you. And that extended to Pam's parents as well, driving them, helping them, especially Pam, your mother, with her pots and pans, especially if her homemade soup was the payment for that. And of course, bringing Mom and Ilsa back and forth every Sunday night for dinner to the house. Pam, you were blessed to share 60 wonderful years together with Matt. You met way back when in high school. Matt took you to senior prom. Early on, he'd come over to your home for Shabbos dinner with your parents, and then you'd go out for a drive. How you love to go for a drive together. Pam, you love being his passenger in the passenger seat right next to him. You told me those early days when you'd have the Shabbos dinner, you'd go out after for a second dinner at Van Aken, at Manners. Pam, even though you went away to school, you stayed together with Matt. He called, and whenever you needed anything, he was always there. You told me that he was always so attentive. He couldn't do enough to please you. And soon you came back home and you were married, sharing a wonderful life together, loving, committed, a supportive relationship, raising your beautiful family. The kids described the two of you as a bit of a yin and a yang, but you balance each other out completely. You love to eat out together, to take long car rides, to travel. Even planning the trip was so special for the two of you, working together, hand in hand. You listened to Broadway music, attended theater. You told me your first big trip together was to New York City to attend several Broadway shows. You drove across country listening to the Broadway station the entire trip and would test each other on who was singing and what show it was from. Beth and Jeffrey, you shared that he was an incredible father, how he loved you both unconditionally, how he was your advisor and your confidant, and how he loved being with the two of you, going to activities when you were young. And though he never bragged about you in front of you, when you weren't in front of him, oh, how he did. He took so much pride in you, in who you've grown to become, and your own families. He loved to shep nachas, as we say, to brag and to boast. And he welcomed Kristen and Greg into the family with open arms. You each shared with me individually, how much he appreciated you, got to really truly understand you and love you for the special people you are, and also for how you take care of your spouses, of your partners, of his own children. You already heard he was the ultimate papa. And that image of Matt carrying his grandchildren on his shoulders was true for each of the 4 grandchildren. He was that papa that carried you everywhere. He lifted you up, would do anything for you. Whether it was making those eggs, running the barbecue, as you said, sharing his love of food with you. I'd like to share, in addition to Ben and Corin's words, Truman and Lou shared a couple words with me. And this is, Truman, what you said. I remember every time Papa would come over for dinner or we would go to their house, I would ask him to play catch with me. That was one of my favorite things to do. And of course, going to the Browns games and sitting up in the nosebleeds. And when he would come to my baseball games, we'd always go out to ice cream together or picking me up from John Carroll basketball camp. First he'd ask me how I did, but then more importantly, Papa would ask me if I had a good time. That was most important to him. And Lou, you shared that Papa may have been more used to playing ball with his 3 grandsons, but he also loved to have tea parties with me. Of course, as a princess. In the backyard of what we'd call the White House, using the small trampoline as the tea party table, Papa was sitting with his knees almost up to his chest on the tiniest of chairs. But of course, Papa lit up with the biggest smile on his face because he was with you. We already know Matt's other love was cars. It was so deeply ingrained into who he was. He had that uncanny ability to look at a car and tell you all about it. Though he started in the repair business, he ended as a high-end salesman. More than 40 years in the business. And though he sold those high-end cars, the family shared with me that he drove a brown and beige Bronco for a long time. And then he drove the white Chevy Blazer that came off the factory lines with rust from the first day, and the ugly green Pontiac Firebird that seated only 2 for a family of 4. Matt was a great friend to all, not just to his poker buddies. And not that he ever even won a game. But he was a friend who was consistent, always in your corner, able to show that in subtle ways and clear ways. Matt was a person who never overpromised, but he always delivered. A dedicated coworker and friend, working in a profession where there could be much friction as a salesman. It was never that way with Matt. He never pressured anyone to make a sale or to steal a customer. He never did that. He was loyal, never held a grudge, always made sure his customers were treated well. Jeffrey, you shared with me when you went to buy a car, Dad gave you all the financing bank info, so much so that when you bought the car, you talked to the finance guy who tried to work you over a little bit, but Dad made sure that you got the best deal. I can't say that's the same for his son-in-law, Greg, though. Greg, you shared with me the story that when Matt was visiting you guys in LA, that you needed a new car and you asked Matt to come along with you. You thought that would help you, right? Well, unfortunately, Matt, the car salesman, helped the other salesman make sure that the salesman got a good deal. In fact, he told me he lowballed his own son-in-law in the trade-in. You told me that was the last time you went car shopping with your father-in-law. Matt loved his crossword puzzles. He couldn't get enough of them. And for his 60th birthday, the kids planned a big surprise for him. Every day leading up to his birthday, you sent your dad clues in the form of a crossword puzzle to give him the opportunity to figure out his birthday plans. He loved it because Matt always loved having fun, welcoming challenges when it led to more time together as a family. He kept up with pop culture, with celebrities, which helped on those trips to LA. He was big into celebrity sightings. He especially loved celebrities that were from Cleveland and were Jewish. You already heard about how big a Cleveland sports fan he was, an excellent speller who loved trivia games, a sought-after gardener, known in the old neighborhood as the farmer of tomatoes. He even made his own concoction to keep away the slugs using beer. He was very patriotic and coordinated for years the University Heights Memorial Day Parade, usually driving the garbage truck. He loved that the kids got so into it. It was important for Matt to instill patriotism into the next generation and to build community. Personally, I'll share that I miss Matt. He was a workout buddy of mine. When I'd run into the JCC in the late morning for a quick workout, Matt was always there with a smile, ready to greet me as he was doing his own exercising. I'm very grateful to have worked with Matt at our synagogue at B'nai Yeshurun. For a number of years, Matt helped arrange the best car shows at our end-of-summer picnic. Amazing classic cars and motorcycles, new exotic cars. Matt did everything for us. All we had to do was ask, and he took it and he made it his own, like it was nothing, no work at all, always with the biggest smile. Matt helped us build community for a congregation, always with fun. The end wasn't easy, but Matt never once complained. With mobility as a challenge, he never stopped traveling, exercising. His inner strength and drive kept him moving forward with perseverance. Even in the last few years, Pam, you traveled to Mexico and Alaska and Israel. Matt always smiled, always excited for you guys, the entire family. Matt would do anything for family. It's hard to say goodbye to Matt, such a good man filled with life and the brightest of smiles. We'll miss his kind heart, for he lived for you. He loved you all so much. May his name always bring blessings. Yehei zichrono baruch, and we say, Amen. At this point, we rise as Kener Shipman will recite the memorial prayer.
El male rachamim, shochen b'meromim, hametzei menucha nechona, tachar, kanfei השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת מרדכי בן בנימין שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. הנם בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסדק כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים, את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Mordecai, our beloved Matthew Goss, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May he merit the reward for living a life with kindness and righteousness. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Following this service, interment will follow at Mount Olive Cemetery in Solon, and then the family will be receiving friends immediately following the burial at the Mack residence, 23670 Duffield Road in Shaker Heights. They're sitting today following the burial until 7 o'clock, again at the Mack home, 23670 Duffield Road in Shaker Heights. Today only, following the burial until 7 p.m. Please be seated. Sorry, I'll add the family's also sitting tomorrow, Friday from 1 to 4 at the residence at the Fairmounts.